Well, are you ready?
Yes.
Now you have the treat of getting to listen to our hostess. I don't like the word hostess. Host today, Julia Hartz, who is the founder of this great company, along with her spouse. $2 billion in gross ticket sales in 183 countries in the last year. And it has been named by Working Woman magazine as the best place to work in San Francisco Bay Area for 4 years running. I was looking at their wall of memorabilia just a few minutes ago, and there's a Vanity Fair article on the new disruptors. And among the new disruptors was a box of the new establishment. And Julia Hartz and Eventbrite is part of what is being considered the new establishment. So today you're going to have the great opportunity to see a young entrepreneur, a mother of two, tell you her story and hopefully inspire you to have your own story to tell in another year or two. Please welcome Julia Hartz.
So today I wanted to take you through my story briefly, and then also talk about some of the things, thank you, that I have learned along the way. And my journey is just beginning, honestly. It's been 8 years, but I feel like I have about 50 to 100 ahead of me. And it really kind of started for me in, sorry about that, I'm having massive technical issues, but I'll do some dancing up here. For me, this is the end of the presentation, so we'll go back to the front. For me, it started in Santa Cruz, where I was born. So born and raised in an idyllic setting in Santa Cruz. I grew up as a dancer, a ballerina, and so when I went to college, I had no idea what I should be doing beyond that dream. I was no doubt in my mind that I'd be going to college, and in my parents' mind as well. So off I went to Pepperdine University, and I studied television development. I'm not kidding. That is the major at Pepperdine University. And actually, I thought I'd be a broadcast journalist. So I went to class the first day and sat with a bunch of other really prepared junior broadcast journalists, and I realized that would not be my path. I was not passionate about, as much as I love to speak, I was not passionate about going to a small town in North Dakota to be talking about the weather. And so I decided to then transfer my skills to behind the camera. And thankfully, my degree in television development led me into a career in television development. So my parents were thrilled that I had taken my major and applied it to an actual paying job. And I worked at MTV Networks right out of college. I was an intern there for a year prior, and so it was a nice transition for me. But I was on the team that discovered Jackass. So my parents' pride quickly turned to horror when they realized what they were working on. But honestly, I guess putting almost a decade between myself and that time, I realized how groundbreaking that show was and how special it was to see some people come together who were perhaps crazy, who believed in a vision that they had to make it happen. And sometimes I feel like they might have just been really off-the-wall entrepreneurs. And so from MTV, I had the honor of going to FX Networks, where I worked on shows such as Nip Tuck, The Shield, and Rescue Me. Really amazing content, and I was really lucky to be in that environment at that time. Around the same time, I met Kevin Hartz, who is my co-founder and husband. Sorry for the spoiler. I got to live vicariously through him as he was building his second company up here in Silicon Valley. And what I realized quickly in my youth now was that I was in the wrong industry. And I had this great career and this great opportunity, and yet I wasn't completely fulfilled. Now, I never in a million years had ever considered being an entrepreneur. I'm not kidding. I was not the kid with the lemonade stand. I was a ballerina. I was really good at doing what I was told and making adjustments. I still am. I'm like a dream in Pilates class. And I followed the rules. I followed what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to go. I never dreamt that I would start my own company. So when Kevin and I started to talk about where we were going to build our lives together, I was in LA, he was in San Francisco, it became pretty clear that I wanted to be in the Bay Area because my family was here, and now with 2 children, that was the right choice to make. But I really started to understand that I might be in the wrong industry, and that 2 things were missing for me in that industry that I saw up here in Silicon Valley: velocity and meritocracy. So the ability to move as quickly as possible and maybe even break things along the way, and also the ability to be valued for what you know or what you've done versus just purely who you know. And so I came up to San Francisco, and I almost joined Current TV, which was Al Gore and Joel Hyatt's project. And right before I signed the offer that they gave me, Kevin came sort of screeching in and said, "You can take that offer, great, really exciting, you could go build somebody else's dream for very little money, or you can come build something with me for no money, and we can put all our money into it." And I thought, why does that sound like such a good idea? It sounded like a good idea because it was, honestly, I think serial entrepreneurs are a little bit crazy in a good way. I think you're eternally optimistic, and I think that there was no way that Kevin could see how it wouldn't work out. And that was infectious for me. And so I shut my eyes, held my breath, and took a leap with him. And we started out very humbly. We were in, this is so far beyond where we were. We were in not even our janitor's closet is nicer than the office that we started in right now. So it was a windowless phone closet in a space that we had gotten for free on Utah Street in Potrero Hill, and the only caveat was that we had to tell other entrepreneurs about the space. And so within about 6 months of starting Eventbrite, with 2 sawhorses and doors as desks and a wall of cup of noodles, having just been in a window office in Fox Plaza in Century City, we started to attract other entrepreneurs who were starting companies. And within about 6 months, we were about 12 different companies in these different founder teams in one space. And it was this glorious time because we all worked together to share knowledge, share resources, and what came out of that space eventually was Eventbrite, TripIt, Flixster, and Zynga. And Truly actually was in the building too. So it was just an incredible moment and such a special time, and of course we had no idea what was going to happen. So it's been an evolution, obviously, over the last 8 years. We stand here, I stand before you as the leader of a company of 373 Brightlings worldwide. And it's been such a journey and this sort of marathon, but you always feel like you're in sprint mode. Or it's a roller coaster. We never know what's going to happen day to day, even today. And so I wanted to step back and not talk about, the specifics of how we've gotten there, but really what I've learned along this journey, or what I've learned so far, because believe me, I'm very far from figuring it out. So the first thing I've learned is that it's incredibly important to have a philosophy and a vision. And I think that it's something, talking about confidence, I think it's really hard to be confident in your philosophy and your vision. And I wish I would have figured that out earlier, because I was afraid that by putting my strong philosophy or vision out there, it would be in danger of becoming irrelevant or stagnant over time. And it would almost become a joke, I guess. And I didn't have the confidence to actually put it out there. And it took me really a few years to be able to say boldly, Eventbrite is going to bring the world together through live experiences. But once we actually got that out, and it almost felt like having a child to actually get that out there to our company, things started to happen. And magic was starting to be created around the company because we were bold enough to say what we actually were going to do. Not just, oh, we're building this little ticketing thing, or oh yeah, we help people create events. was all fine and dandy and rooted in reality, but actually our vision is to bring the world together through live experiences. And how are we going to do that? We're going to build the world's marketplace of live experiences. So the way in which you go to Amazon today to find anything, honestly 80% of what I buy is on Amazon, we want to be that place where you can find any live event to attend anywhere in the world, any day. The second thing, or I guess not really even the second, but obviously the very, 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 very first thing I learned was to find a strong partner. And I know a lot of you may be going at it alone, and it's really, really, really hard. And I think that it's completely possible that you'll succeed. I think it's incredibly important to try to find a partner, somebody who has complementary skills, somebody who can be your advocate when you feel like the impossible is never ending, somebody who can be your cheerleader. What I found is obviously pretty special. Kevin and I started the company before we were married, as Jackie mentioned. We got married 6 months after starting Eventbrite. And so we don't know what life is like outside of us being married co-founders. But what I've found in Kevin is this incredible mentor who can help me figure out things that I haven't experienced before in this journey of being an entrepreneur. But he also literally can't see a reality where I can't do whatever I dream of. And that has been so important to me. And I think if you can find a partner who will help you get from point A to point B 2 times faster, then it makes the journey so much more, I think, gratifying and fruitful in the moment. The second thing is to build that village. So let's say you don't have a co-founder, and that's fine. Your partner doesn't have to be your co-founder. But inevitably, you will need to build a village. And a village can look very, very, very different to each person. For Kevin and I, and I'll just kind of take a personal moment here, our village looks like our mothers, who are thankfully local. Again, we made a really good decision to stay in the Bay Area. It looks like our advisors, who we've asked to be advisors to our business, but they also, of course, give us advice on life. It looks like our board of directors, who are incredible supporters and investors and believers in Eventbrite. It looks like the people who help us at home, the child care providers that we employ. It looks like our girls' teachers. I wasn't actually nervous today until Emma's former preschool teacher, Miss Shauna, walked in, and I realized how much I still want to impress her. But it looks like those people, and all of those people in our lives have been so instrumental in helping us build Eventbrite and also build our family at the same time. So I think building a village, it sounds kind of, I don't know, maybe it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's so incredible to build that village no matter what it looks like. And the third thing is really something I think I'm still working on. So that's really to be brave, to ask for, and specifically receive help. And I think for many years I was either too afraid or didn't have the confidence to ask for help because I thought it would make me look weak. And once I actually got over that, it actually took me another period of time to be brave enough to receive the help. Because I think it's way different to ask for, to say you need help, but then to actually receive it, and to receive it graciously and humbly, and to not feel like you're constantly indebted to people because they're helping you. So I think that's something that I'm still working on, but I think it's really, really important as you continue down this journey of building something great. So this is a slide of what we've done here at Eventbrite from a monetary perspective. These are numbers represent our gross ticket sales over the last 4 years. Obviously, we feel like we've tapped into a very large market. What we call the long tail of ticketing, which is everything from an event like this to a cooking class, to a music festival, to a yoga workshop or retreat, to a race. Anything in between is really in that long tail of ticketing. It's everything below the big, Beyonce concerts at AT&T Park, of which I'm going to. That market just keeps getting bigger for us. So we've found this incredible opportunity around the world. Turns out live experiences are universal and they're global. They're global in demand, but local in nature, which creates a huge challenge for us. We can put, our service has been used in over 190 countries last year, but really until we put boots on the ground, which we have in these markers, that's really when we start to see the hyper growth in each country. So our challenge is big and it's exciting. My family and I leave tomorrow to go to Europe on our sort of summer sojourn to go visit London and Dublin and see all the exciting things that are happening in Europe. So I think in conclusion, really for me, it's about finding your vision, being bold enough to tell other people about it, to create a movement around it, finding partners that can help lift you up and bolster you in those tough times, building that village that will constantly keep your life sort of in orbit, and then also being brave enough to ask for and receive help. And hopefully I'll see you guys in another year or so, and I can tell you how it's working out for me. So thank you for being here.
And I'm sitting there thinking about all kinds of questions, and I know we're running a little bit late, but I thought we should just open it up for a few questions because her story is so powerful. Any questions, please?
Hi. I'm just interested, I know you're really kind of famous for having created this culture that keeps winning all these awards. Can you give us one or two ideas about how you think about the culture here and how you've really created such a great place to work?
Sure. So the question was around culture and how we've thought about creating the culture that honestly everybody at Eventbrite is famous for. So first and foremost, it starts with you. And I think that had I known that the culture of Eventbrite would include the DNA of Kevin and I, both good and bad, I think I would have been terrified. But I think it's important to note that the DNA of the founder will permeate the culture of the company. So think about the parts of you that you want to be in your company, and think about the parts of you that maybe you want to supplement with that partner that you're going to find, and really own that. The second part is really creating a sense of community. I think hopefully you'll see it here, or you can kind of feel it when you walk in. But for us, it's about how do we make every single person here, no matter if we're 3 people or 300 people, feel invested in this vision and feel invested in building a great company. I think at the end of the day, if I had one wish, it would be that every single person who worked at Eventbrite at any given time, even if they're here or not here, looks back at their time at Eventbrite and says, that was my best work, or that was my best leader. And so that's kind of what I think about a lot when we're hiring. And I think that the third thing is just to really pick those few values that you think are important. For us, it's learning, collaboration, and transparency, and live by them almost maniacally. I mean, we have times where we have to make decisions, and thankfully we have strong values, and we have a strong philosophy around basic human decency and putting people first before the company to help us make those decisions and come to conclusions. But you'll be challenged so much along the way. You'll be tested. And so it's better to think about those early on.
Can I just tell you, standing behind you is one of your members of her staff, and she was nodding. So that, talk about motivation.
Thank you.
Can I ask the question?
Yes.
Tell us about a failure along the way.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting is I should get better at answering this question because it gets asked a lot. But to be honest, I don't look back at any time at Eventbrite and see failures. I see lessons, right? So lessons that we learned along the way, because I think it's impossible to look at something as a failure if you actually learn something from it. But to be completely honest, the biggest failures come when we make the wrong decision on people. So it's honestly for me, and I'll be a broken record because this is what I live, eat, and breathe, it's all about people. You could have the best idea in the world and the biggest market, and I mean, I'm not going to, but I can tell you about a lot of cases where this is happening right now. If you're not focused on people, you're ultimately not going to be as successful as you could be if you did focus on the people of your company.
Yes.
What was the hardest lesson you learned?
I think the hardest lesson I've learned is to be bold. Honestly, I think that we've played it really safe at Eventbrite, and we've had times of being bold, but I think we could have been bolder in the earliest years. I think we could be bolder now. I find it easier to be bolder these days, but I think that I wish I would have been a bit more audacious in the early years.
Over there?
So I'll stand so you can hear me. So I really love what you said, and I wanted to ask you, I have a husband who I love to partner with, and when I went to Sacramento to file my LLC, I told him the name of the company, which is Parker Pennington Enterprises. My name is Linda Parker Pennington. What he said to me was, why did you use my name? Talking about his name being in there. And I said, excuse me, I thought I was using our name, right? He didn't understand that I was thinking of us as a joint partnership. So can you give me some tips on how you two have worked together and how you've been challenged to work together?
Maybe a private conversation.
Well, I will say that we don't know any different. So again, like the caveat is that Kevin and I have almost grown up being co-founders and figuring out marriage and parenthood and everything that goes along with that under this umbrella of being co-founders. But what we have found, I know it's kind of funny to this story, what we have found as our golden rule, and we've learned this, well, we learned it early on from our good friends Michael and Sochi Birch, who are a wonderful co-founding couple who have co-founded a bunch of businesses together, but most notably Bebo, that they sold to AOL for $1 billion in 2008, is to divide and conquer. To never work on the same thing at the same time. And really that is true for any co-founder relationship or any partner. Why overlap when you can get from point A to point B 2 times faster by dividing and conquering? So it's incredibly important to find partners who have complementary skills, who can handle different parts of the business. If I had to break down and be super simple about where Kevin and I, where our passions lie, mine is people, his is product, right? And so we work together to support each other in that way, but we don't overlap, because I think if we did, we would have problems at home.
Okay. Thank you again, Julia, for hosting us.